younger lad. I took my dog and all I had, and I toted my pack and hit the road. Cardboard sign said headed for the coast. I walked out to the edge of town. I dropped my bags, put my thumb out. My dog plopped down and panted in the sun, as we both watched all the cars pass one by one. Well, in about 5 minutes, a truck pulled up with 5 guys in it. They said, "Hey man, we're going all the way." So we hopped into the bed, and off we went, and I never could have predicted the rest. Cross mountains, valleys, and desert sands, 500 miles overland, till we reached her big blue glimmering majesty. We were all nothing but smiles as they left us by the sea. Before I knew, sunset drew near, so I looked for a place to unpack my gear. I got tired and I had to sit down at a park, when my brittle-boned old dog began to bark. He had a figure in the shadows. He said, "Hey, my name is Julio, and look kid, I don't want to sound too mean, but you look a little green. Why don't you let me take you under my wing?" And I said, "Yes, very, very, very hesitantly. Good, I know a place just south of here where the women are great and so is the beer. I gotta warn you though, it'll be a bit of a hitch." So we went and stood out by that highway ditch. Who pulled up but a woman in a convertible, said, "My, your dog is just adorable. You guys can come with me and I'll take you up the road a ways." Hopped in and she sped us all away. Well, what they were saying I didn't know what, but she was smiling as he touched her butt. It became increasingly more clear as he whispered in her ear, "Why don't we just pull over here?" The next thing I know, I'm in the back seat dripping sweat. He's in the front seat getting head from a girl that we both barely had just met. To this day I wonder what it was he said. And when at last she was all done, she sat up and wiped off. She looked back at me with those warning eyes. Julio gave me a wink as she pushed my dog aside, and I panicked inside, but just then the side view mirror, it fell to shards as a crowbar hit the side of the car. The doors flew open, we were pulled to the ground, and all I seen was black. And I knew at that point there was never going back. I woke up in a cold, dark place to my dog licking the side of my face. Sat up and I found a crack of light from a boarded over window on the right. I nudged Julio and told him the news, and with our hands we pried till those boards came loose. We crawled out to a sweltering desert day in a trailer park along a lonesome highway. And as we looked at all the Harley bikes, we knew he'd gotten head from a biker's wife. We heard commotion from all around, we had to find a way out now. That's when we found an old dirt bike on the ground. We stood it up and brushed it off and gave it a kick to see if it would start. It sputtered as we heard some voices around the side of a building out the corners of our eyes. So we kicked and kicked until it roared to life, and the bikers emerged all holding knives. Threw my dog on front and me, well, I rode bitch. Julio dropped that clutch and we took off with a skid. And he pulled that throttle as far as it go as we went flying down that empty road. Still couldn't believe that we hadn't died. Wish I could say the same for the bike. As it choked and whined and we pulled off to the side. All 3 of us was too much weight for that old and rusty bike to take. I paced around and said, "Now what will we do?" Julio hopped back on and said, "Well, kid, I don't know about you." So in disbelief I watched him go, but I felt a rumble up the road. I jumped down with my dog and hid in the brush, watching 30 bikers ride by in a rush. It was all just too much. By this point I didn't have my pack, just the clothes I had upon my back. No food, no water, not even a snitch. I was really on the fringe. So excuse me if I became just a tiny, tiny little bit unhinged as I was yelling at the sky and cursing my luck to where even my dog was like, what the fuck? He slipped his collar and tried to run away. That's when I grabbed him by the scruff and looked him in the face, and all I had to say was, we're gonna die, dog. We're in the middle of the desert, and we're gonna fucking die. It felt as if it was a dream when my eyes were blinded by the gleam of a van window in front of me, with a man inside saying, you better come with me. Now I just stood there and I gave him a real dumb look, at this point making sure that he wasn't a crook. But my dog jumped inside like he was ready to go, just a wagging his tail, so I'd have been nuts if I said no. Now maybe it was just the dizzy hot weather, or maybe even the fact that he didn't wear leather, but he had all his teeth and he wasn't rubbing his pants, so I wasn't about to abandon my chance. I yelled, look, you're not a biker like the ones back there. And he said, a biker? And he just threw his head back and laughed into the dry desert air. It was a deep-bellied laugh that bulged his eyes, despite his awfully skinny size. Shrugged and hoped that meant what I thought it did. And I'm here telling you this so you know that I'm not dead. He said, come on, I'll take you to the next town over. I wiped my forehead, glad it was over. Got inside, he threw the van in gear, and it was in the rearview mirror. What a nice fucking guy he turned out to be. Even bought me a Greyhound ticket out of there. Now I'm sure none of you expected it to go like this. You're probably watching for another plot-thickening twist, but the real twist here is that the day was saved. You can still find me traveling to this day, because with nothing but a backpack and a dog by your side, you have nothing but good stories on the horizon in sight. Just be careful, cause not all of it'll feel quite right, cause not everyone else is traveling quite so light.